Zombies are huge in the entertainment industry these days, and The Walking Dead is most surely one of its best franchises. Hot off this press is The Walking Dead Survival Instinct that has the franchise taking a stab at the first-person shooter genre. Activision are known for taking liberties with licenses in order to cash in on their huge popularity, but never always to the best of success. While it makes some well-intentioned mechanical choices and lives in the same universe as the AMC TV series, The Walking Dead Survival Instinct is sadly an incredibly underwhelming game.
Yeah, you gotta get there first. Traveling ain't so easy these days.
I'm coming with you then.
Yeah? You can barely walk.
The Walking Dead Survival Instinct shares its narrative with the television series, set up as a prequel to the first episode while Rick Grimes is still hospitalized in his coma. The story has you taking the perspective of Daryl Dixon, and after getting ambushed by walkers in the hills while hunting unaware of the major outbreak that's occurred, Daryl sets off on a dangerous road trip to find his incarcerated brother Merle so they both can head to survivor camps in Atlanta. Very little of the game makes you care for anything that goes on, especially when it comes to meeting other survivors enduring hardships of their own, who seem to disappear after a level or two. In comparison to what the franchise is capable of delivering storytelling-wise, it's well below average. Survival Instinct is a first-person shooter, but it follows in the footsteps of games like Dishonored that make you prioritise stealth and melee weapons. You're urged to keep quiet and edge your way past the walkers in order to have as little complication as possible. If you make too much noise, you'll attract walkers. If you use any loud guns, you'll attract walkers. If you stand too long and let them catch your scent, you'll attract walkers. It's these three tenets that form the game's brain-dead AI, and it's an ironic occurrence to find a brain-dead enemy in a game that's actually got brain-dead programming behind it. Within 15 minutes, you'll know the most effective way for killing the walkers. Shove them back to momentarily disorient them, and then walk up behind them to execute them with your knife. This would be great if it was only able to be used with the walkers unaware of your approaching presence, rather than every single one you encounter, since it becomes furiously repetitive. This monotony is dulled when you finally get the crossbow and several other effective guns to evolve your tactics, but the game's insistence on subjecting you to the same brutal death animations over and over again grinds your patience to a nub.
Yes.
Throughout the game, you'll use different vehicles to get across the Georgia landscape that also place storage chests to bank items when your inventory is full. To keep your car running, you'll need to find fuel throughout the game that you'll scavenge along with firearms, melee weapons, health, ammo, and distraction items like flares and empty bottles as you complete the story and lightly explore each area. Picking and choosing what inventory you don't need depends on your playing style, but there's enough versatility in the options available to suit what you want to do. Survival Instinct encourages you to go out of your way to scour every corner to keep well stocked, and it does a commendable job of keeping you on edge if you're tapped out and you're down to your last few bullets with an army of walkers on your doorstep. Intelligent elements like these only serve to highlight the repetitive gameplay, especially once you master the combat and build up a hefty arsenal. Outside of traversing the levels is a fast travel system, acting as your means of progressing to new areas by driving down highways, streets, and country back roads. The system is purely based on the principle of trade-offs. Taking the faster highway route means less fuel is used, but you're more prone to a higher chance of breaking down along the way, in which you'll then be forced to search the area for parts to fix your vehicle. Taking the streets and back road routes means you'll expend more precious fuel, but are given better chances at finding abandoned areas which you can choose to scavenge materials from or move on from entirely. Despite the method you choose, either scenario has you doing so amidst swarms of walkers to add to the need of playing carefully. What's unusual is that sometimes there are forks in the road and you can only choose to go one way without ever being able to go back to the other unless you start another playthrough after completing the 4.5-hour campaign. The incentive to do so is drained almost immediately when you learn that the level design is so similar for the majority of the towns that you'll feel like you're not going anywhere new. You'll also frequently come into contact with survivors in your journey who you can choose to liberate and have them accompany you. As you go through your missions, you can micromanage them to be equipped with weapons and sent out to scavenge for fuel, supplies, ammo, or safely wait by the car if their health is on the poorly. Sending more of them out together on matching objectives decreases their odds of dying on the job, since all your inventory bestowed upon them will be lost for good if they don't return. Your conscience isn't scathed if one of them gets killed, and it has no bearing on the events whatsoever that you'll care more about the weapons you lose rather than the characters themselves. Survival Instinct nails much of the savagely rustic atmosphere of the TV series that it's based on, but it's incredibly plain everywhere else, with poorly designed interiors and outside areas. This is put into even worse perspective when the scavenging missions are clearly identical environments from the last, with the only real variety in the campaign design appearing in the final few areas. Character models for the Dixon brothers and their voice acting by series regulars Norman Reedus and Michael Rooker are decent, but the rest of the surviving players and the walkers themselves have a few variations that repeat throughout the entire game. Where the game does a fair service though is in the sound department, with crunchy weapon and combat sounds complementing the gargling droll of the walkers that lend some gravitas to the mediocrity it's bringing to life. But when there's so much texture pop-in, flat animation, and stuttering frame rate issues, it's hard to lay on any praise too thick. The Walking Dead survival instinct is a game occasionally redeemed by some excellent potential for the series to find its true footing in the first-person shooter market, with strong foundations for decision-making, travel, and strategic combat. It's just that it's affected by poor choices everywhere else and a clear attempt to capitalise on a franchise that's so unfortunately high quality that any lackluster offering like this one stands out all the more. For those who are curious, it's definitely worth a rental, otherwise wait until it goes into the bargain bin.
Sorry, brother.